a big hello and welcome to my show UnBound. I'm your host, Mamta, a space curated for real stories of people from different walks of life who have sailed through uncharted waters and lived to tell their inspiring story. UnBound is a deep dive into their journeys to unravel, unearth, uncover various facets of their lives as they remain unstoppable and continue to do the unthinkable. As they open up about their life with me, I'm sure you will find nuggets of wisdom to live unbound too. Ever wondered what lies outside the territory of a bound up life? Well, it's an unconventional path to self discovery, and my effort here is to explore this path with you. So let's unbound together. He's the man of dreams and ideas. He reads much more at a breakfast table than people could read in a week. A lawyer by training, his continuous quest is to notch it up. Graduate from Harvard Law School, he kissed goodbye to his job in the Wall Street law firm at the peak of his career. The frustration of the sheer effort that he was spending on mundane and clerical tasks pushed him to jump off the cliff and dive straight into his entrepreneurial venture. Currently automating the most important but also the most mundane tasks undertaken by all corporations, that is contracting. He's the co-founder and CEO of the rising and shining startup SpotDraft. He is Shashank Bijapur. Hi Shashank, welcome to my podcast UnBound.
Thank you, Mamta, and really, flattered by that introduction of mine. I hope I live up to the hype that's now been created. Really so excited to be part of the show.
All right. So the most important and interesting, I'm not going to wait for anything further. I'm just going to straight away shoot this off. From Dharwad to Harvard. Tell us about your journey. It is just so exciting.
Yeah, so that's actually a line that my father says, originally from Dharwad, and that's where my family is from. I come from a middle-class background. Both my parents were bankers, and I saw them work, and I saw them work really hard. And the one thing my dad kept telling me is, whatever you do, at some point, I want you to go and live your dream and do something that you really love and not what somebody else wants you to do.
So tell us a little more about your childhood, your hobbies, your passions. Did you always know what you wanted to do? How did it all, unfold for you?
Yeah, so I actually, a large part of my early childhood was spent in a small town in Gujarat called Valsad. It is, I was raised there. I went to a wonderful school there, and it was a fairly normal upbringing. And the first time I ever encountered a big town was when McDonald's came to Bombay, and I think I was about 14, 15 years old, and I saw the world outside. And I said, hey, I want to come and live here and do something here. This seems to be a very large town with fun things to eat and do.
Oh, wow. How interesting is that? And then how did the move start to happen? How about your schooling and your college? And then how did really Harvard happen for you?
Yeah, so I was out and out a science student, and I was ready to become a doctor. And then I once visited a hospital, saw all the blood and gore around, and I almost fainted. And I felt like this doesn't seem like what I'm cut out for. And then I had a cousin who went to law school, and I used to watch him study and prepare for his moot courts, and that seemed really interesting and exciting. There wasn't a lot of blood and gore. So I was like, okay, I want to become a lawyer.
So at what age were you still figuring this out? Like you were already into science, and then were you already doing your bachelor's? What time was this when you figured this out?
Oh, I was still in school. I was 16 years old. And then at 18, I went and joined law school. The interesting part about people who go to law school is 99% of the people have never visited a law firm, have never been to a court, have never interacted with a lawyer. They probably saw Suits or Tariq Pe Tariq and decided this is my life journey.
So true, yeah.
And then law school was interesting. It was everything that I didn't think it would be. it was far more challenging. And obviously, watching my cousin study from the outside seemed fairly easy to do, but it wasn't as easy, but it came naturally to me. I enjoyed that journey, and people said, "What next?" And the thing at that time was, this is in 2008. Now, 2003, I went to law school. 2008, I graduated. I took up a job in a leading law firm in Bombay. So I worked there for about 2.5 years. That's where the building blocks of what I wanted to do were sort of set out. I went into. I always had a technology bent of mind. And I went into the law firm, and I realized that a lot of the work that we did was so manual. And there was a thought seeded somewhere saying, "Hey, something needs to change in the way we work."
Change here.
And that change actually came about with one day somebody saying, "Hey, have you gone and seen what happens outside?" So there was this journey from this tiny town called Valsad in Gujarat to Bombay. And then somebody said, "Hey, why don't you go and do your master's somewhere outside?" That year I applied to a bunch of colleges. I was lucky enough that Harvard picked me. So went to Harvard Law School, and then there was that second change that happened from India's Big Apple to the world's Big Apple.
World's Big Apple. Absolutely. Absolutely. But what made you not bite that apple and come back? That's really, a looming question for me, because having known you for all these years, we really did not get into the personal part of it. That how did you really, got nudged at the peak of the career at a Wall Street law firm, and then just deciding to wrap it all up and say that no, this is not what my calling is. I need to be somewhere else doing something else. Like, of course, there was that shift that has happened internally, that something needs to change. But while you're sitting at the peak of it, then how can you just drop it all and just make a move back? How did that happen?
Yeah, there were about 2 or 3 factors in it. At some level, I felt like being a corporate lawyer was sort of very mundane and repetitive, in the sense that there was no innovation that was happening either on the business side of things or the technology side of things. And then the date was 2015. It was 31st December.
Okay.
And my office used to be right next to Times Square. So I could see the Times Square New Year ball drop literally from my office. And I was there sitting and doing due diligence reports. And I'm not saying I didn't like it, but I was there on 31st December. And a lot of others like me in the office. So I took a break. I opened the news and I read about this guy called Elon Musk. And the article said, cars are going to drive themselves. Now, this is an alien idea. This was an alien idea to me. So I dug in, and in my head, cars are driving themselves, and here I am copying, pasting words on a contract on 31st December. Something had to change. And the third factor, the status quo of working was a little slow. There was innovation happening all around me, and I wasn't being a part of it. And then there was this phase where the startup environment in India just blew up. There was a change in government. There was funding happening for a lot of the ideas that were already established in the US. And I said, this is a great time to go back and try your hand at something that my dad said, which is, at some point, I want you to do your own thing. Don't keep doing a job. So it felt like the right time. It was a tough decision, but in hindsight, I think it was the right decision to make.
Yeah, clearly so. I mean, we can't deny that. So where did that conviction come? That, okay, this is it and I'm calling it off. Like, where did that internal driver conviction come from? You know that wo andar ki awaaz, kidhar se, where did you get that inspiration that, boss, this is exactly how I'm going to go for it?
I actually didn't know what I was getting into. I just had a lot of gut feeling towards doing this. And my question was, how do I validate this? Now, everybody around me knew that, whenever they would ask me, what do you want to do? I would say, yeah, at some point, dhanda karna hai. At some point, I want to do business. So when I told them I want to go back and start up, people didn't even flinch an eye. They said, absolutely go ahead and do it. This is what you've been wanting to do. And we think that amongst the people we know, if somebody could be an entrepreneur, we trust that you'll be able to make something out of what you're building.
Oh, interesting. So people could see that spark in you. I mean, just before you could really explore, identify, and then gather the courage to say that, no, boss, this is it. This is exactly what I want to do. So sometimes, people can, the world is looking at you, and you are probably just gathering yourself up to realize it. Interesting. So obviously, clearly, you had no idea where to start from, and how did this happen? How did the wrap up, the shift, the move back to India happen?
Right. So I run this company called SpotDraft, which is a legal tech company. Now, I knew legal and I was pretty good at it, but I didn't understand technology enough to start a startup on my own. So I spent the next year working for my cousin who runs this company called Ruby Power. I learned the early tips, tricks, understanding of what a business entails. Remember, I was still this lawyer, and everything for me was a document. The idea of business was a document. How do you put that into real world is what I learned at Ruby.
All right. So as I clearly see, Shashank, that you're a person who gets into the research and then the experience of thing before just getting into it. I mean, it kind of gets validated with your decision to go into a law firm, but before that you went to see a law firm, and clearly so even with startup that you went to go and sort of study the ground and prepare yourself much better. So is this what Shashank is? Is this how his approach to life is always?
I would say that I learned from my mistakes of not having visited a lawyer's office before joining law school, but I was also lucky to be surrounded by people who gave me the right advice. So my law firm partner at the time that I was leaving, he said, hey, if you want to really know what a startup is, and he basically asked me, what do you plan to do? I said, I'm going to start up. He's like, you probably don't know what you're getting into. Why don't you get into one and then figure out whether that's the right decision?
Well, that's some piece of wisdom. I really wish people get mentors or, such God speaks coming to them that clearly. You were clearly very, very lucky to get that advice. So what makes you UnBound, Shashank? What are some of the instances that are life transforming, have exactly been the point of no return? I know we have covered some part of it, but personally, otherwise, when you take decisions, are there inspirations that you draw out from? Where do you really get, or when do you really get those eureka moments?
I think there were two moments that I can clearly remember where I felt like this was the right thing to do, and I keep going back to those moments. The first one was really sitting on 31st December and wondering, why am I doing this? And if I'm doing this, there are problems that others face that I could solve for. I sort of knew the problem, but I didn't know the solution or the make of it. So that was one eureka moment. And the second one was is more to do with challenges when they come up and how do you respond to them. This was way back in 2008, 2009. My dad and I decided to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Now, it was, we prepped for it and we read all the books and we did all the physical training. And
oh, wow. On your own, like you guys were just on your own doing all of this, or you had some trainer helping you, assisting you, or you just took it up on yourself?
It was the neighborhood Gold's Gym, which I would barely make to, a couple of times a week. But
you definitely promoted them. Okay.
So I don't know if it was gold ship. No, it was gold ship. Now that I think about it,
Yeah.
you don't realize the magnitude of what you're planning to do until you go reach there and you look at it,
Yes.
and there in the distance is this magnificent mountain, and it's snow tipped, and people are, you can see the rat lines walking all the way up.
That's kind of a scene right out of a documentary or a movie. You've really described it in such a way.
Yeah, and it was like that. It was very picturesque, and it felt it. I even while speaking about it right now, I have goosebumps. And I was like, yeah, this is easy. I can do this. And it was 5 days of walking, and 5 days of living on barely minimal food, walking 8 to 10 hours a day, and walking through different vegetation and climate zones. And by the time it was day 5 and it was day of the final summit, I wanted to give up, and I was like, this is it. I can't make it anymore. I can't. I'm done with this. Take me back home, Dad, is what I told him. And he pushed me, he egged me, he said, no, we have come so far. We're going to try our best and we're going to hit it. And I fainted on my way up, and I got into a dizzying zone, and there were a lot of issues that happened, but we finally made it to the summit, took that picture, came back in, and every time I feel a little dejected or I feel a little thrown back, that picture is right behind me. So I turn around, look at it, and I'm like, I know exactly how that felt, and in comparison, any problem in front of me is fairly achievable.
That is incredible, Shashank. I think, moments like this can just make you go past anything in life. And how old was your dad at that time? I mean,
he was, I think, about 56 years old, and we in fact won the Limca book record for being the first father and son to climb Mount Kilimanjaro.
Awesome. That is some inspiration, Shashank. Have to give it to you both. So, of course, you've gone past many challenges, and you've taken life head on. But what are some of the fears that you kind of guard them very, very close to your chest, and you're like, I know I'm going to go through this, or I really fear this should not happen? What are some of those that you have really sort of conquered on your way to this journey, this life, and how have you really managed to do it?
My biggest fear has been the fear of failure, and that drives me to a large extent to success. Not coming from a lot of wealth or having a cushiony background where I could say that, hey, if I failed at this, I could probably do something else. For me, that fear of failure was very strong, and that drove me to try harder at whatever I was doing. By no means am I saying that I am successful, but I do strive to get there, and it's the drive to not fail. The fact that I quit being a lawyer, to a lot of people's at times amazement and ridicule. I just did not want to fail at what I was doing, and I wanted to build something that people really wanted, and where I could show value.
So is it the fear, if we link it back, is it something like a fear of failure because of fear of criticism, or to be not gelling well with the society in that term of success? And I don't know, whatever your expectation is from yourself, Shashank, but where you are is a huge success. Firstly, you cannot take that away from yourself. While I also sort of resonate with what you're saying, that success is not something that, okay, I've done this and I'm successful. It's like constant ongoing pursuit. If it's Mount Kilimanjaro is one success, then you would like to do many more mountains like that. So while I get that, but by no measure is it not a success. You're so successful and a highly accomplished individual, and we take so much pride and honor in having you here with us today. So my next question really is that, was it coming more from internal, or was it more like an external pressure, this whole fear?
I would say it was internal. I want to make my parents, my family proud. I want to make the people around me successful in whatever they do. Now we have 100 employees, so I want to make sure that each one of them has a career, and at some point the highlight of their career or their recognition is the fact that they worked at SpotDraft. It is these things that really drive me, and over and above all,
Right.
I really want to build something that solves a problem and that creates value, and that is super important.
Right. So what has, in one word, if you were to really define it, what has really helped you go past this fear, or to continue on your journey, that okay, all of this rattling is all there in your head, and of course there are judgments and there are things that people are saying behind your back, then how do you go past these things?
Resilience. That's the word. The one thing I've also realized about being a founder is just being resilient and being focused, and you should looking at the larger picture rather than focusing on minor details today that really don't add up.
Right. How much does others' judgment and notions or some preconceived ideas about you or your personal life or your work choices really impact you? Does it bother you when people say things behind your back? I mean, I'm sure some of it must be coming back to you.
Yeah, it did early on. Maybe during school and college, and people get poked and judged from where they are or how they look or what they wear, and that would affect me. But I think maturity has taught me that it doesn't matter in the long term. And having been a lawyer for so long, we are anyway the butt of all jokes. So
Nice. So that makes me come to my next question. What about some of the patterns which you've identified in yourself, which you thought these are impossible to break? Like, there are patterns. Somebody may be a great at whatever they do, but they may be procrastinating, or be a very big procrastinator, or just sheer lazy, or not very action oriented, or maybe not an early morning person. So are there any patterns that you really had to go past to be where you are today?
yeah, I think, and this is, I think, recency bias on why I'm going to give this answer. It has to do with the shift from being a lawyer, the mind shift from being a lawyer to being an entrepreneur. And the pattern there is the attention to detail and the need for perfection. Because you are drafting a document, you want to make sure you're dotting all the I's and crossing all the
Well
T's,
said,
and
well
you
said.
want to make sure you've got this pristine document in front of you. But when you want to launch a product, you want to get it to market as soon as possible and get feedback. And that haptic feedback does not always exist in a lawyer's life outside of their internal folks. It's always internal. It's your peers, your seniors, your supervisor who's looking at it, but it's not the end customer or the counterparty that's telling you about it.
Thanks for that sharing. And what about, how do you clear your lens? Whenever there is any distraction, any big event, outside, inside, that is disturbing you, what really, how do you deal with that, and what brings the focus back to where you should be?
I actually have my goals written on my wall. So where I'm sitting right now, in front of me when I look up, are the goals that I need to hit, either personally or professionally. But from an internal perspective, and by the way, what's written there serves as a good reminder of where I need to be. But I meditate and I function on meditation. So I do a lot of just realignment internally, mentally, on where we need to be, what the goals are for the day, this week or month,
Okay. And who has somebody put you on that journey, or is it like a self-realization? Are you guided by any mentor, spiritual guru, or anything like that, or is it just your own exploration into the this world?
Yeah, it's actually childhood. It's my grandfather.
Oh, okay.
He used to meditate, and he used to do a lot of yoga. And I didn't pick up the yoga piece, but that meditation.
Whatever works works. Interesting. So what about role models and people who have inspired you? I mean, I can clearly see your father playing a role there, right? And are there people from outside of family, or even people you have not met, or who've been world ideals and all, who have inspired or been a great influence in your life?
So yeah, my parents definitely, like you rightly pointed. At some point, it was also both my cousins, one who became a lawyer, the other one became an entrepreneur, and I am here as a legal tech entrepreneur. So I got inspired by what each of them did, and then of late I've been reading a lot about both Elon Musk and Steve Jobs. Elon Musk, purely because of the audacity of what he does, his ideas, and the ability to execute it. A lot of us sit and dream and want to put things on Mars or Pluto or wherever. The audacity to execute it is just phenomenal, and I'm in complete awe of it.
Great. So, but what do you think? With the likes, of course, he is like demigod right now. But what about this kind of a shot to fame or success journey? Do you really believe that this is? I mean, it's mercurial, fine, but do you really believe it's sustainable? I mean, is it not? It's like nobody knew Elon Musk for a decade or for some time, and in 5 years or last 7 years, what he's done and where he is, or is it too elusive, or it is just one Elon Musk of the lot who could do it? What's your take on that?
I mean, Elon Musk is definitely one of its kind, but if I had to take a step back and say, what is the real cost of what you're building? The real cost of what you're building is the time you take away from people around you. That's the real cost. It could be the cost of not watching your child walk, or not being able to
Yeah.
spend anniversaries and birthdays together, for something that may seem a little selfish from an outsider's perspective, because it may seem like this entrepreneurial journey is somebody's quest for fame or money or whatever. And I must admit, in my 20s, that is exactly how I thought. I thought being a founder was about the glamour and the money and the fame that came with
Huh.
it. But then, when I look back, and I feel so childish in the way I thought. What I really think drives me today is the ability to really impact a problem that somebody has through something that the team has built. And the second thing is the ability to build careers. I recently got a message from one of my employees saying, "Hey Shashank, I just wanted to let you know I've been here for 3 years. I paid off my entire education loan." I printed that message out, and it's there on my table. I look at it and I feel really happy that in some form or manner, between Madhav, Rohit, and I, we've been able to build something that has helped others grow in their careers and lives.
What about movies, travel, interactions, shows that have influenced you or have been life changing or change your decisions and choices completely? Are you a movie fan?
Yeah, I used to watch a lot more movies than what I do today.
Yeah.
But I'm a big true crime buff. Um, I watch everything true crime. I listen to everything true crime. I read everything true crime. Uh, it's also criminal law was one of my favorite subjects in law school, and I basically watch every true crime show in 2 parts. So the first night I will watch the half of it, and then I'll do an entire guessing game on what will happen next.
Oh,
And
okay. That's how you keep yourself amused and entertained.
to the extent that over the weekends it consumes my life to and I'm also a creature of habit. So there is a specific time in the day when I listen to it,
Uh-huh.
and I every day. So today I'm actually today is the guessing game, guessing sort of reveal day. So yesterday I watched half of it, and today I'm going to find out whether my predictions were true or not.
Okay. So are these the crime
Yeah.
podcasts that you're listening to,
Yes.
or are you?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
It's crime podcasts and TV shows, and
Okay.
the forensic files of the world, 48 hours mystery. So yeah, I'm all in it. And the other one is actually Game of Thrones. We are big Game of Thrones buffs. My wife and I actually bonded over Game of Thrones. I know sometimes it sounds a little morbid and gory, but
No,
um,
I am just
we
imagining back that Shashank who went to that medical whatever center or hospital and fainted and had the blood and gore, and now he is going on watching Game of Thrones. Very contrasting,
yeah.
but very real life.
So yeah,
Interesting.
talk about change, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're so inspired. My puppy is called Tyrion,
Oh
right?
God.
So
I'm not a Game of Thrones fan at all. But then let's just cut this out. Okay, so what is this one big learning that COVID has been for you?
so the biggest learning is I thought the world had come to a stop, and
Yeah.
we would just all collapse. But the society as a whole is kind, it's resilient, and it's very, very adaptive. Um, and it sort of showed in every aspect of life, right from dealing with the lockdown, facing unfathomable medical struggles that people have had, and the idea of what recreation is completely changing, to just the way people sold and built businesses and raised money. For us, for example, at SpotDraft, um, I thought from a business perspective, I thought this is doomsday. I could not imagine a day where employees would sit from home
Right.
and work.
That being into technology yourself, I mean, still you were at that make believe stage that this may not happen, right? So you can imagine how the rest of the world, I mean, obviously, companies who are far away from technology or who had to really pivot their businesses around tech would take it. I mean, that's very interesting because coming from someone who is into technology, believing and investing and, putting the whole game there. I mean, for you to be on a back foot and say that I don't know whether this will work, to really not only making it work but growing and quantum leaps that you guys have taken in last few years, commendable.
Yeah, thank you. I think we've been also blessed with a rock solid team and the right set of investors who believed in our growth. So we've touch wood, but a lot of what we are doing is just being there at the right time at the right place.
Yeah, let Lady Luck keep shining and smiling at you. Let's not drag this and बोलते हैं ना अपनी भी नजर लग जाती है, so let's not do that. I am happy for you. What about dealing with failures and mistakes? What's your mantra? What is that? Quickly, one day this not worked out and okay, this was a great idea, whatever, and this has really not worked out. How do you quickly brace yourself and move to the next?
It's for me. Failure is not an option; it is just success delayed.
Okay.
So I do two things. One is I internalize it and try and figure out was it even the right decision to do, and second, what if there is a empirical way in which we can go back in and find out what really went wrong. Sometimes it is not. Some failures are not empirical. They could be emotional. They could have other impact. But really, from a larger, from a meta perspective, how bad could a failure be? right? We've seen with COVID what uh, tragedies and disasters could mean. So, you know, as long as you have the will and the ability to keep going, this is just success delayed.
Right. And what's your one go to song, place that has like a completely magical effect on you? Like there's a day, it's a night and a day thing that, okay, I went there, dark, gloomy, didn't know, and I came out sparkling. So, is there anything that kind of completely transforms you that fast, that quickly? Any song, any place, any person, anything? Yeah.
Yes. If I were to pick a song, it's a song called Greyhound by Swedish House Mafia. It's a song that has a lot of amp, and it's pumped up, and every time I listen to it, I just get so energized and happy.
Give us
And
a few lines, Shashank.
it has zero lines. It's a house song with like zero lines
Okay.
altogether, but it is um, it's one of those things that just keeps you super pumped up. So if I feel like I'm not getting into this meeting, or
Yeah.
oh my god, it's another one of those calls, I listen to this song and I'm all like chirpy, happy, and I'm like, let's go get it.
Okay, bliss. Nice. And what is that you're looking forward to do in the rest of 2022? What is that things on the wall for you?
I think 2022 is going to be our breakthrough growth year.
Okay.
It's the year where, from SpotDraft's perspective, we are going to get we are seeing a lot of recognition, growth, and breakthrough innovation as well. So this is a pivotal year for us, and the second thing is I'm also excited to go and finally spend some time outside with the family, travel somewhere, and do something fun. And last couple of years we've been locked up in our houses, so doing something fun is also another thing. So one big thing is I want to go watch a movie in a theater. For me, I never imagined that would be the highlight of the year, but at this point I'm just craving for it.
Awesome. So this is the rapid reflex round, Shashank, and I'm so excited to play this one with you. There's a volley of questions. You don't need to think too much. Just use your reflexes and first answer, that is it. Are you ready? Take a deep breath and let's start.
Let's go.
Okay, please finish this sentence in one or two words. Education must be.
Completely revamped the way it's done in India.
Okay, parents should never.
Uh, Tell you that you can't go and achieve what you want to.
Yeah, people must.
Be kind to each other.
Networking is.
Being at the right place at the right time.
Investors are.
Partners in your growth.
All right. So now quickly on one thing. So this is a quick volley of questions on just one thing that you wish. One thing you wish you knew at the age of 20.
That starting a startup is not about fame and money and glamour.
One thing you wish which could exist forever.
The love of your parents.
All right. One thing you would certainly like to unlearn.
The fear of failure.
One thing you still need to let go of.
My love for samosas.
Okay. Your favorite picks out of this, people, product, or process?
People over everything else. I learned this from Karan.
Oh, excellent. Movies or books?
Books.
All right. Law or technology?
Legal technology, but I'll pick technology.
Okay. Private equity or venture capital, and why?
Today, venture capital, probably private equity tomorrow.
Okay. If not India, then?
Tanzania.
Okay. What do you see yourself accomplishing in next 5 years?
Being part of a rocket ship SaaS growth journey.
Wow. And you as an investor are or will be?
If once I start investing, it's probably people over everything else.
Excellent. You start your day with?
A cup of coffee.
Your daily diet includes?
3 cups of coffee.
You end your day with?
Listening to true crime.
Okay. And your biggest weakness?
The inability to say no when I should be saying no.
Okay. And your biggest strength?
Identifying people very well.
Okay. And you are biased towards?
Audacity, hard work, and ability to execute.
Excellent. That was truly being unbound, and we are really inspired and so much more, Shashank. We have almost come to the end of this show. It's been an absolute pleasure knowing you even more. And as you continue to listen and identify the world's problems and solve them in desirable ways, we wish you more power, and so keep building it for the world. Thanks for sharing your journey. I'm so glad we could do this.
Thank you, Mamta, and thank you for having me on the show. It's been amazing. This was really fun.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I would love to know from you what idea or insight you unboxed from today's conversation. Just drop me a message over LinkedIn or in my inbox, and remember to follow this podcast so that when the next episode drops, you can join me for yet another one too. Keep coming and keep unbounding. Till then, this is your host Mamta signing off.